Hello and welcome back to my series about Titian's poesy paintings. This is the third and final video about Perseus and Andromeda, and in this video we are going to delve into the painting's very rich history and also understand why the National Gallery had always assumed that Perseus and Andromeda couldn't be included in the Love, Desire, Death exhibition, or any other exhibition outside of the Wallace collection for that matter. Perseus and Andromeda is the third of the poesy paintings that Titian sent to Philip II of Spain. It was sent in 1556, by which time Philip II had moved back from London. If you recall, Venus and Adonis were sent to London where he'd married Mary Tudor, but he'd moved back to Madrid because in 1556 he ascended the throne. So the painting passed into the royal collection with the other poesy paintings and was certainly there until 1600. At some point after 1600, it was clearly either sold or gifted because it only comes to public attention again in England and actually in the collection of, rather wonderfully, the 17th century Flemish artist Anthony van Dyck. Van Dyck absolutely adored Titian. He had a whole room devoted to him, and this was in London because he was Charles I's court painter. So whilst it was in Van Dyck's collection, Perseus and Andromeda was a really celebrated painting. It was copied, it was talked about, it was admired, and then it wasn't copied or talked about or admired, and nobody really knows what happened to it until it resurfaced again in 1815, but this time in France, and it only came to light because it was put up for sale. It was bought by the 3rd Marquis of Hertford. Don't really know why he bought it, because he kind of shoved it into his collection and forgot about it, it would seem. Passed to his son, 4th Marquis of Hertford, same thing, forgotten about. And then he bequeathed it to his son, but only his illegitimate son, Richard Wallace. Wallace collection. All the pieces beginning to fit into place now, aren't they? Richard Wallace apparently did enjoy Perseus and Andromeda. It was a painting that he chose to hang in his dressing room, which was essentially his bathroom. So I think it's a lovely image of him languishing in the bath, enjoying Perseus and Andromeda, or maybe one more than the other, who knows. He died and his entire collection was left to his wife. And it's actually on the death of Lady Wallace that the entire Wallace collection, plus the house, which is in Manchester Square in London, was bequeathed to the nation, but on the stipulation that it would always remain together and wouldn't be mixed with other works. So when the idea was discussed to bring the 6 poesy paintings together in an exhibition, it was always assumed that Perseus and Andromeda couldn't be included per the terms of Lady Wallace's will. However, over the last months, possibly over the last years, the Wallace collection have been revisiting the terms of the will, and late last year, 2019, they announced that they felt that it would be permissible to loan works of art for very special exhibitions. So for the first time in the Wallace collection's history, this work, or a work of art, is being loaned to be shown in the exhibition at the National Gallery. It is not, to my knowledge, at the moment going to travel to Madrid and Edinburgh and Boston, but come to London and you will see all 6 poesy paintings together for the first time in centuries. It's a real watershed moment. So speaking of watershed moments, or speaking of water, in our next video we are going to meet Diana and Actaeon, And Actaeon is a gentleman who I think would wish that he had never even seen water. Just a little flick of it changes his life forever. I hope you'll join me. Bye.